Thinking about buying an own root rose? Not sure how to plant it? Well, come along with us because we're going to show you how to get your roses off to a great start so that they can thrive and give you blooms for many years to come. It's going to be a great day in the garden today. My name's Eileen and welcome to The Garden Squared, where we teach you how to garden organically with less effort and more success. So if you're looking for tips and how-tos, as well as some sweet garden tours, click that little likey like button and subscribe. So what is an own root rose? Well, an own root rose is a cutting taken from a particular type of plant. We'll use ebb tide as an example. So they just take a little cutting and then they stick it in dirt and let it grow on its own roots. Now there's a lot of benefits to growing own root roses. One, they live longer, okay? Two, you don't have to worry about suckers because any basal breaks that you get from the base of the plant, like right there, they're true to the plant because it's grown on its own root, as opposed to a grafted rose, which has been grown, the rootstock is grown separately. Then they take a cutting of the rose that they want and they graft it onto a different rootstock. So the drawback to that is any basal breaks or new canes you get from the bottom root system, those roses will not look very good. They're not going to be the same kind of roses that grows on the top. So own root roses, there's a ton of benefits. They can die all the way down to the ground and come back from that root system. And they live a lot longer and they give you a lot more blooms because when a cane is old and it's not really flowering very well, you can just cut it off and more basal breaks will come to replace those old canes and it rejuvenates the rose really well. So there's a lot of benefits. I only plant own root roses and I love them. There's just less work, more healthy, more blooms, more canes. I can choose which canes I want. It's really good. I love own root roses. So today we're gonna be planting ebb tide, which is a purple, like a dark purple, kind of blue. I mean, there really aren't any blue roses, but it's a pretty dark purple rose, and it's very fragrant. So I'm going to be planting it next to Lady of Shallot, and I think that that contrast between the purple and like the yellow orange is going to be really nice. So I'm planting it underneath by my bay window so that when people drive down the road, they'll be able to see all of my roses. What we're going to do is we are going to have a look at the root system. So I know the top doesn't look impressive, but you want the top to be smaller than the bottom. So if you look here, you can see that there's a lot of little tiny feeder roots, and that's good. That's what you want. Because although each individual root is smaller, it's going to be able to grow and kind of spread out, and there's just so many more roots that can thrive, and it's going to take hold and be really strong. So like I said before, it looks small and unimpressive now, but it's going to grow up and get really big and beautiful. So first we're going to dig the hole, then we're going to amend the hole, and what we're going to use to amend the hole is leaf mold, composted cow manure, some bone meal, worm castings, and last but not least, some liquid fish emulsion, which is really fish fertilizer. And I got this one from Heirloom Roses. I really like it. But boy, does it stink. Ooh, phew. Luckily, the smell quickly goes away. So you want to read the instructions for this. So it's 4 ounces per gallon of water to make the feeding solution. And you want to apply it, I would say twice a month. Every 2 weeks I usually do it. So the question is, why are we using so much of the soil amendments? Well, roses are very heavy feeders. You want them to bloom and bloom and bloom and bloom, and then bloom some more, right? So in order to do that, it's like exercise. If you're exercising really, really hard, well, you need to take in more calories, and roses are the same way. So if you want to get your roses started off right, you definitely want to take your time, dig that hole deep, really wide. Make sure that you're putting a lot of organic matter and food for that rose so that it can really take hold and be very strong. It'll be more resistant to diseases and pests. And you just want to make sure that this is the most important step, is digging a deep hole, putting a ton of organic matter in it, a ton of rose food for it, and your rose will give you blooms for many years to come. So first, we're gonna dig the hole. So now we're gonna plant our roses after we've dug our hole. So I know this is the hard part, digging the hole, but don't skimp. It's super, super important. It's really like putting this little bit of extra effort is really gonna go a long way to helping your roses thrive. So I dug a really deep hole. It's all the way down past my elbow, and it's about 2 feet wide. So we're going to put 1 scoop of composted cow manure into the bottom. And we're just gonna mix this with our native soil. All the way at the bottom. We're gonna cover this with some leaf mold. Now this is really good leaf mold, and I'll show you a video later on where how I get this for free. But it smells really good. It's got a nice earthy smell. There's lots of worms in it. This is great organic matter to add to your hole. Now it's not seed free because we didn't hot compost it. It was a cold compost. So don't put this on the top of your soil, but deep down, like to just add organic matter into the soil, this works really well. So we're gonna add some in just to cover that composted cow manure. Give the roots of the roses something to grow towards, nice and deep. Oh, there was a worm. See, that's how you know if you have good compost. If you have a worm in there, it's good. So I'm gonna put him in his new home. Okay, then we're gonna add some native soil. And this dirt is actually pretty good. I'm kind of lucky that way. Parts of the dirt is good in my yard and parts that are not very good at all. So we've added some native dirt. Then what we're gonna do is add 1 scoop of bone meal. And this is gonna give the roses calcium, which is very important for root development and also blooms. And then we're gonna add 1 scoop of worm castings. Even though there's a lot of worm castings in the leaf mold, we're just gonna add some more just because I wanna get them off to a really good start. So 1 scoop of that. We're gonna mix it together. Take out any rocks you find. There's a lot of them here. Mix that all in. We're gonna add some more leaf mold or compost or whatever you have. I recommend not using peat moss because I don't think it's environmentally friendly. The peat bogs are a huge carbon sink, and when they dig up the peat moss, it actually releases a lot of that carbon into the atmosphere, which is a major contributor to global warming. So I just use compost, leaf mold. Very easy to make. If you're really in a pinch and you don't have a compost pile, you can buy some from the store, although I recommend making it yourself if you can. Okay, so I'm gonna mix this with the native soil. Okay. Put some more native dirt in there. Okay. Lots of rocks. If I had a penny for every rock I had, boy, I'd be a rich lady. Okay. Maybe add a little bit more leaf mold just to mix it in. Another rock. Okay. So now we've got our hole. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna dig a hole into the amended soil, nice and deep. And a pro tip is measure your hole with your plant still in the pot. That way you'll know if it's deep enough, wide enough. And what I wanna do is I wanna bury this rose like 2 inches deep, like right up to here. And that way the rose will actually grow even more roots, and it'll also be protected from wind rock. So when the wind blows, instead of just being one little pencil that flops in the wind, it'll be like this. So the dirt will hold it and support it. So you'll get less wind damage. Test it, see how deep. Okay, so now the rose will be deep enough. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the tag, the tag's actually attached to the pot. Take out the cane so we don't poke our eye out. Take out the rose first. So you just wanna put your hand like this around the base of the canes, just like that, and just tip it over. And these should not be root bound, okay? It should not be hard to get the pot out, but at the same time, I can see that there's roots there, and actually, there's a worm in the bottom of the pot, so that's a good thing. It means that there's a lot of good bacteria for the worms to eat. This soil is alive, living. And now for my secret weapon for getting our roses to grow really big and strong. This is a spice container, but I filled it with mycorrhizae. So what I'm gonna do is inoculate the roots, just like that, all around the sides. And what this is gonna do is form a symbiotic relationship with the roses, and it's actually gonna get phosphorus and all the nutrients and bring it back to the rose. The rose is gonna feed it with photosynthesis, sugars that it made from combining sunlight and carbon and water, turn it into sugars, feed it to the good fungus, and the good fungus in turn will go out and get water, phosphorus, all the nutrients that the rose needs. So it's very important, always inoculate with mycorrhizae. Okay, so we're gonna put it into the hole, and you can see it's quite deep. And we're just going to backfill. Give it a nice good pat. Now we're gonna water it in. We wanna water it in really good. So I've got my fish emulsion mixed with my water. And I'm just going to water all around the base of the rose. Oops. This is it's kind of stinky, but the roses love it. And actually, the fats from the fish emulsion is part of what makes your roses smell good. So if you have a rose that's supposed to be really a strong scent and it doesn't really smell that good, you know, it just doesn't have that strong scent that it should, feeding with fish emulsion might actually help with that to get you a better scent for your roses. So we're just gonna let it soak in. Give it another water. then what we're gonna do is put the mulch around it. Now you want a nice thick layer of mulch, and this is going to help keep the soil from drying out. It's going to keep the roots nice and cool. Keep the moisture in the soil. I usually do about maybe 2 to 3 inches of mulch. This mulch I actually laid down last year, so it's broken down quite a bit, so I'm gonna add some new mulch to it. So the question of the day is, are you guys just thinking about planting an own root rose? Have you ever done it? What was your experience? Let me know in the comments below. And if you wanna get more tips and how-tos on how to garden organically, click that little likey-like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great day.